everyone. Welcome to another awesome day of FileMaker training. I'm Richard Carlton, broadcasting live from the state of Florida with no hurricanes at the moment. It's pretty exciting here. It's hot, it's humid, it's nasty, but it's very green. And if you like green, Florida is the place to be. So, fmtrain.tv. We kind of created that to help everyone learn about the FileMaker platform. There are some people who already know about the FileMaker platform. They're kind of like these expert people who are like super duper amazing. I'm here to help everyone else, right? And so today is going to be a conversation, kind of begin the conversation on reporting is kind of the idea with that. I watched how we did this a year ago, and we're going to make it a little more basic. And we're going to start from a scratch, from a blank file. And then we'll progress along that way. We're not going to start with starting point or a CRM because it just makes it too overwhelming for new people. We want the new people, when you're stuck, you have a question, when you see something you don't understand, please raise your hand or hit the button or yell or do something to get Margaret's attention. She will take your question and interrupt me and ask the question. So today's Friday, end of the week. Welcome to the weekend, everyone. Monday will be naming conventions, layouts, and scripts. That's an interesting conversation right there. That'll be fun. I'll be threading myself in there next week along with Calvin Mosebin. Let's talk about how to support the channel. If this training is free, if you love the training, definitely buy one of these training subscriptions right here. A couple bucks here allows us to keep the lights on, pay Margaret. Margaret doesn't work for free, neither does Nick. Nick expects to be paid. As a result, we need to collect a couple bucks here and there to do that. That's the plan. So we have a basic, plus, and complete training subscriptions. The screen is being shared. Let me bring this. So this is the curriculum that I have. I was reading through this, and this stuff was written. A lot of this, what we did is we took Claris's old curriculum and they kind of abandoned it back in the FileMaker 15 days. All the people that worked on it have been don't work at Claris anymore. And so as a result, we kind of picked it up and have been kind of maintaining it on life support, adding to it. Some of it's good, some of it's a little confusing. And so we're going to follow along. We're going to build some reports from the beginning. Okay, so real quick. So reporting. Let's just cover some big high level stuff. So reporting is the idea of displaying data in a useful, generic definition, displaying data from some place in a useful way on screen or on paper or in some sort of format. That's kind of this generic, loose definition of it, if you think it very loosely of what that is. A lot of people will take screenshots of FileMaker in browse mode. We all understand what browse mode is. That's the user mode. They see something, they take a screenshot, they call that a report. Technically, if that's a report to them, then it's a report. If you think it is and it has value to you, then it's a report. A lot of places will spend time when they build a report making it fit on whatever the default size paper is for your geography. So in the United States, it's US letter or US legal or something like that. If you're in Europe or someplace, it might be A4 size paper, right? Their paper sizes are off just a smidge. I don't know who's right or wrong. It's just different. And so A4, A5, whatever size paper you use. And so what you do is you build a layout that's going to output some sort of FileMaker data to that size format. Then you either print it or you output to a PDF, which is really super common. A lot of people kick out the PDF. So understand that's kind of the definition of what a report is. A lot of people will just take screenshots of browse mode or print it or something like that. Now, as you become more sophisticated as a FileMaker developer, what you will do is you will create a layout in your FileMaker file, and it will be called something like print. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close my instant messaging. This is our sample file that we've been playing with last week or earlier this week. It's got 500 sample records on it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to see if it'll work. What I'm going to try to do is I've got the 500 right here. I wonder if it's CSV, I think I can drag and drop that on the FileMaker. And what it's going to do is it's going to give me a sample file. So we're going to call it report sample. And then I can put the FMP12 extension. If you don't put it down, it's still there. It's implied, it's invisible on the Mac. I always like just to put it down so we're all on the same page. It gives the computer an opportunity to disagree with me because sometimes I forget what format I'm in, especially if I'm converting images. So FMP12, save it. It's going to go through this import dialog. We talked about import export the other day. We talked about aligning things. What this will do is it will create a bunch of fields, and it will use the first record data for the field name, right? Kind of handy dandy, right? So it's going to create a table and do this for us automatically. Most people never do this. You might do this once. I'm doing it right now for you so you know it exists, but most people always have a pre-existing file, right? The file you've already been working on. It's what you use when you want to, add a report. It's going to go in there. So here we have this file, okay? And ding, ding, ding. Actually, it used the F1, F2, and the first record. Let me go back and try that again. Let me try it. I think there was a checkbox I messed up. Some of you are probably screaming at me that I didn't check the right thing. Let's try it one more time. Paste it, save it. Where is the use the first record? Oh, use as field names. There we go. So I hit this right here. So it's data, but I can use this one as field names. And if I go, that's data, right? So you can specify there's certain ones are data, and then certain records that we flip through the records laterally, that one it says uses field names. There we go. So that's what I was looking for. I'm going to say convert. It builds it. So here we are with field names. So this layout right here, if you look up here, there's once again, we're going to kind of have to retread a little bit of things we've covered before to get everyone to this point. What are the three kinds of layouts that we have? We have a form view, which is one record on screen at a time. We have a list view, which this kind of looks like. And then we have this table view, this is what this is. A table view is designed to mimic a spreadsheet. This was created by Ryan Rosenberg at Claris many years ago to try to make Excel people feel friendly and welcome to the FileMaker platform. It was his invention. He was the marketing department at Claris. To some degree, it has some use. It's not something I would use, but I'm not a marketing person, right? I'm an engineer. I build things, right? So everything I build sells itself. If I need marketing, I have failed, right? So that's how that works. So, first name, last name, company, here we go. So this is a form view. I'm going to go to layout mode. Then we get this issue of body parts, right? Or I call it body part. I always say body parts, but I'm talking about layout parts. Body parts is much more law and order. Like, yeah, we got body parts on 7th Street. Block 300 could be 4 or 5 VIX. We're looking for some perps, right? So you got to use all the lingo from Law and Order, right? So we got the layout parts, so layout part is a header, a layout part is a body, a layout part. This one is footer. It's hard to see that right there. And so when you're in a form view, if you display this screen as a form view, what ends up happening is that it's going to display the body once on the layout at one time. So if I go to browse mode and I say, show me as a form view, right here it says view as form view. I can click on that. It's showing me that layout as a form view. So the body's on here once and once only. And then if I flip records, so then you're like, well, that kind of stinks. So that's because this body part should be bigger, taller, right? Makes sense. And so it takes over the whole screen, and you really don't need a header on a deal like that. The header and the footer become interesting when you have a list. So that's view as a form. View as a list is nearly identical, except it allows the body to actually be that little size, but then it repeats down the screen. So I'm going to click on this, 1, 2, 3. And so there we go. So that's how that looks, right? So it takes that same part and repeats it down the screen. That's a list view. And then a table view is this other view that looks more like a spreadsheet. And if you're an Excel person, this should be like soothing, calming music. Oh, that calms you down, makes you feel like you want to use FileMaker, apparently. So I've been told. So I mostly use form view and list view. And then I might use table view if I'm trying to triage something as a programmer. I would never, ever, ever, ever send my customers who pay me money to use a table view. So no bueno. Okay. If they want to use Excel, then I'll just sell them Excel and move on my merry way. This is the basics of the data. So what is a report? Generally, a report will be a found set of data with a sort state, and then you'll have a layout that it displays on. So let's say that this is, for the moment, let's just leave it. Let's just leave it like this. Well, no, I'm kind of going circle. Mark, if you have questions, you want to interact with me a little bit, let me know. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to layout setup, and I'm going to write the words up here. I'm going to call this the form view, and I'm going to change it. Okay. And then I'm going to go to layout. I'm going to duplicate the layout and I'm going to go layout setup. Now, layout setup is also activated by the little pencil right here, little like pencil thing. Click that. We get the layout. I'm going to call this the list view, which will also be / the report. Okay. Now, normally when we build solutions, we will give the customers their own form view that's designed for them to use with their mouse. They'll have a list view that can go with it. They can use with the mouse. And when they kick out a report, that's a third layout that has graphics specially designed for the printer, specially designed for a PDF generation. Hopefully that makes sense. Yeah, go ahead, Margaret.
What's the difference between a printing layout and like a report layout?
None, really.
Yeah,
Right?
okay.
It's. I mean, is that your question or
I'm just, yeah, I was spitballing. So we talked about printing previews specifically.
Yeah. So I'm going to go through this. Let me go through it one more time. So here's layout one, and it's that was the one that was created. Then that's interesting. So then there's this one. This is a form view. Okay, so that's the form view. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this bigger and taller, and I'm going to put like a box or something and something like that, whatever, some sort of something in here. Let me give it some color, right? So then you can tell this is what this is. We're in the form view. This layout right here is like a junk layout, right? Typically, right? I'm going to delete the layout. I'm going to say layouts. I'm going to say delete layouts just so we have it nice and clear. So we have a form view, then we have a list view. Remember in the list view, so the body is smaller because we intend for it to repeat down the screen or down the page, or down the piece of paper. Okay. In fact, Margaret, you're working on this right now with customers and stuff. So yes. So if I do, I'm going to go back to browse mode, and I want to make sure that if I say this as viewed as a list, right? So if I view as a form, view as a list, whatever we set this right now is the way it will set going forward when people view this layout. You can go to form view here, or actually it's form. This is a list. Then I go to the form view, and it needs to be set. See, it repeats. See, it keeps repeating, right? We don't want it to repeat. We want only one record on the screen at a time. So I'm going to press that. So then on that screen, it's a form because it says, and the word matches. This naming over here is arbitrary. I just named it that so we'd know what the hell our intention was to do. Here's a list view. Notice that it jumps over there. It saves it that way. You can also, in layout mode, you can restrict the layout. Click on layout. So this is the list view. We could bring this up. We could say views right here, and you could say, no, it's a list view. I only want to show the list, the list view, not the table view, not the form view, right? So then the little selector up there is restricted, right? Yeah. It's restricted, so you can't change it. I come over here, same deal. I'm gonna hit the pencil, and we know it's a form view. It looks like a form. The name is form. If it quacks and acts like a form, it should be a form right here. We're gonna make sure that people keep it as a form. We don't give them the option to move it over.
Well, I didn't realize it was actually an option. I always assumed that if you made a list view when you made the layout.
So look right here, I'm in a form view. Yeah. So here's a form. So yeah, this is a great question. So the name here is arbitrary, but I named it specifically. I turned on form. I turned the rest off. So I'm clicking. Can't get there. Can't get there. Doesn't work. Right? Makes sense. If I hide the status toolbar, if I say view status toolbar, and the same thing kind of works on Go and WebDirect too. I have a keyboard shortcut. I'm on the keyboard shortcut and hit it. There we go. So that hit it. So now we don't see that stuff up there, right? But then you have no other way of kind of getting. Okay. Zoom is interfering with my show. All right. So I'll use it back to. It's interfering with this keyboard shortcut, but you get the idea of that. So now we have a form, and then we have a report. So a list, normally a form view, once again, is for user interaction. It should print these. Users should go here in browse mode. List view normally is a separate layout. In fact, I'll just do that real quick. I'm going to go to this layout right here. I'm going to go to layout mode, Command and Control L. We're in layout mode. I'm going to say layout, duplicate layout. Now we're on a new layout. I'm going to say layout setup, and I'm going to change the name to report print. Maybe 8.5 by 11. Once again, the name is arbitrary. It's mostly for our benefit. That's the table. The name table is named table. I wouldn't worry about that. And we got a list view, right? So there we have that. So then if we go over here, we've got form, which makes sense, report, which makes sense, list view, but /report. But we're going to leave this as a list view. We're going to go to layout mode. We're there. We're going to hit the setup. Another way hitting setup. And I'm going to change it to list view. So Normally, then what we would have is we have that there, user mode, back and forth. And then if we press a button over here in user mode and it says print a report, it should go to this layout here. It should generate the report and then come back. Now, this layout looks the same. However, when we're printing, if say we're printing on a black and white printer, right, you have a header. The header has this color in there. That's going to waste toner and ink. And so that's not, good for the environment, blah, blah, blah. You're going to waste things, print 10,000 pieces of paper. Of course, for me, that's kind of rich because I print a lot of stuff. And so then maybe we start drawing lines and making it look all reporty, right? I'm not sure that's even a real word, right? How do you make it more reporty? Right? Well, I want it to be fatter here. So we can do coloring. We do things in here. We can say this is an amazing report. Amazing report. Whoa. I love it when FileMaker does that. So it does that. You just grab it, make it big. All right. So then there's amazing report. So browse mode. So here we are in browse mode. We're there. I can flip to here. It looks different. And I can flip to here and it looks like a form. So now we understand these types of layouts really. And then we have this one, which is just going to be customized and standardized and made different. So it comes out on paper nicer, right? And so the issue is essentially at the end of the day, if you wanted to do your inform view and you wanted to say, and normally you wouldn't have a list up here, it would look totally different, right? You would, in fact, let me get rid of everything on here.
And just pull it back all out. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
I got rid of the objects. I didn't get rid of the fields. There we go. No one panic.
That was a brief, like, oh.
Yeah, no one panic. And it's going to organize it vertically. So I'm going to come over here. Bing. And on a form view, you don't need the header. So I'm going to click on that once, hit the delete key, pow, gone, right? Because you want to customize it and make it like, you got Rubens, so that this is the title of the software company, Ruben. How do you spell Ruben, Margaret? Ruben?
R-U-B-E-N.
R-U-B-E-N, like that?
Yes.
Frog Empor. All right, so Ruben's Frog Emporium. Right? You could put a little picture of a frog up here, right? We could share the database. So now then you're going to build a button and the button's going to come over here and the button's going to run a script and the button's going to say, call it the frog distribution report. So now we're doing frogs. We're not doing law and order. I feel like I've left my strategy behind. So there's a button.
You could have criminal frogs.
Law and disorder frogs. Yes. Criminal frogs. All right. So then 1 second. So that's the fill color. Can I have a light fill color? Okay, there's kind of a button there, All right, so we double click the button. The button says it does nothing, okay? So what we want to do is we want to go into script, say script workspace. We're going to create a script, and you come in the script workspace, it looks butt naked like this, like something's really wrong. That's because you have absolutely no script. I almost never see the window that looks like this, ever.
I didn't realize it could look like this.
Yeah, that's right, because almost no one ever starts with a blank file, right? So you start with that. There we go. And so we're only seeing the left pane, the middle work area, the right pane is suppressed. It's the actual list of commands you can pull from. If you're new to FileMaker, that's fine. In my head, I mostly have most of all these memorized that they're there. I do not have memorized the 7,000 MBS functions. Okay, let's just be clear, right? That's not memorized. So we're going to say, we could say print report, I guess. We could call it like that. I'm double clicking. I'll just say run frog distribution report. Once again, the naming here doesn't matter. It's mostly that we understand what it does. So then what we would say is if we're on the frog distribution report, we're going to say probably go to layout. We're going to go to the log of the layout. Hang on, not the log, the reporting layout. There we go, that one. Okay, we say okay. I'm going to say then something's going to happen. And then what I'm going to say is then we're going to come back, right? Because if we just go there and leave the person there. See, here's the thing. When you go to the report, most people say, well, I want to see the report. No, you don't. What you want it to do is kick out as a PDF or kick out as paper. I guess you could show it on screen. I can just tell you from experience that almost no one wants to see it on screen. Okay. You build it for them. You say, hey, you hit a button here and say, do you want to print this? Or you just want to see it on screen, and it throws a dialogue, okay? After about 8 times of people pushing it, they will only output to PDF or paper. They won't want to see it on screen generally. So, but anyway, go to the layout, then you do stuff, right? You come down here, I'm going to put hashtag do stuff, okay? And then you're going to go back to where you came from. Now you could say, go back to the form view, or you could say go back to the original layout. So I'm going to say go back to the form view because that's where we came from. But you could say go back to the original layout. The original layout is a layout that was in existence when the script started, where you were, right? So that could be handy, right? But I'm being precise right now. Go here, do stuff, and then or go do stuff, then jump back to where you were, so that people never see it. They might see the screen flash. They might see it flash. So now I'm going to come over here. I'm going to double click this. I say perform a script, not single script. Wrong
No,
one.
you're not supposed
You
to
don't
click
you
that
don't
button.
want this one. You don't want that one.
That's the bad button.
Well, it's not bad. It's just that you're gonna hate yourself after you do it. It's like if you have 2 gallons of gas in your car and you pass the gas station because you're almost home. But then the car starts making a noise. I did it. I was lazy. I didn't do it the right way. You should have pulled over and done it correctly. That's what this feels like. Okay. It feels great until the car starts going, right? And then you realize you should have done this one. All right. So browse mode. Let's try that. So if I run it right now, what'll happen? Anything? It didn't flash. Nothing happened. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put a beep in here just so I might know that something happened. I'll hear a beep. Maybe I hear a beep. Let's try it. 1, 2, 3. I don't know if you can hear that. There's a little chirping, beep, 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 beep. So it's actually going there and coming back, and it's happening so fast, the screen doesn't flash. Okay. So then if you were over here, you could say, instead of beeping, we could also say, let's just print it to a printer. So I say dialogue on. I guess we could say it on. People will do this too. Let's do it dialogue on, right? And then so I'm going to say, that's great. Come over here and print. So then I'm going to hit the button, boop, and then it says, would you like to print on a printer? Okay, so we're not going to actually print.
Yeah.
It brings up the print dialog. I could say save the PDF and jump to
That'll work.
PDF, right? So I'll say report sample 1.pdf desktop, okay? And it made 5,000 pages. And then it came back here. So we never saw the ugly report. Now here it is right here. Kick this out, double click, doot, doot. So that's what one page looks like. Well, I mean, yeah, but we're like brand new FileMaker developers. To have it do anything at all is a major accomplishment. Okay. I'm being serious, right? So you understand that kind of structure. You're gonna have a report. It's a layout. You're gonna write a script that's gonna go there, do some stuff, print something, whatever, come back. The other part of this is that when you run the report, it might generate a found set. I'm not going to worry about that at the moment, but I want to just mention that it could like do a find for only the active frog. Say like the frog emporium is a place where the frogs go for the nightlife, and it's only good in states where that's legal, maybe Nevada, right? Nevada is really questionable, has some questionable laws and stuff, and frogs can get whatever kind of services they want there as long as they are willing to pay for it. So Ruben's frogs want to go to Nevada. So let's say that report wants to go to Nevada, and we need that data. So we could say,
I have a dumb question about layout stuff before you
move
on.
Go ahead.
I noticed this occurred to me the other day, and I wanted to bring it up for this. When you go to like File, Manage Layouts, and you click New Layout, there's an option to make a print-only layout that is separate from the list view. And I'm curious.
Okay, hang on. File manage layouts. File manage
layouts.
Yes. Okay.
You go and you hit new.
So this right here, this list right here is very similar to this list right here. Okay. Very similar lists. You can actually hide items that are on over here. You can only get to this with admin credentials, this list over here. But really, it's almost like, but if I turn them off right here, by the way, just so you know, you come over here, I'm clicking, you can't see nothing. If I just turn one on, then one pops up, right? It may not be the one I'm on, but one pops up. Okay, so what's your question, Margaret? You can do what?
If you go click the new button, it brings up like this little, you click new layout.
Layout report. Okay, FileMaker. So here is the way this was built. A layout is a layout. It may serve as a report. It may serve as what? A form view. It may serve as a list view. Okay, it may serve as a dashboard. However, the marketing department got loose at Claris and decided to add the word the report because some people didn't see where the reports were and they thought it would confuse them. So I get it from a new user perspective, but really it's kind of misleading. So what's your question after I fix that?
If you clicky that,
see,
It
Okay,
doesn't
so
show list view, it doesn't show form view, it shows printer. And if you click
it will.
printer,
Stop. It will. It will.
no.
It will. So here's what you have to do. It's going to build the layout. It's going to help you a little bit. So it says build the layout from whatever table. Then you can try, then it'll help you kind of target the kind of thing you want to you're going to display it on a computer. Doesn't matter whether it's a report or a list view browse mode, but obviously you would think that this would be for reports. And this, well, you could have an on-screen report, right? That would be on a computer or on a touch. We'll do computer. Then it's going to say, do you want form, list, or table? And then report. Once again, this is a marketing add-on here. This is not real. What they do is they take a list view and they add a couple little nuggets to it. They put lipstick on a pig and they call it a report. That's all this is. This should say list view with lipstick, AKA a report. So that's all this is. So if I'm going to actually create it, I'll call this the lipstick on a frog. Okay. And so I'm going to say continue. And so this is what it tries to do. This is where I was going with this. It puts a couple summary totaling things in here to make it a report. A list, listen, a list view is a report. A straight list view that comes out of FileMaker is a report with no totals on it. Okay. Remember the list view we just saw?
Mm-hmm.
Were there totals on it? Did it tell you how many frogs were in Nevada, which I was trying to get to? It doesn't do that. You have to add a couple little objects to the layout to enhance the list view. So the list view gives you more interesting data. A list view can be a report. A report is just we're back to this issue of what is a report? I don't know. A report displays probably I would say a report aggregates data in a useful way for your boss so you don't get fired. How about that as a definition? Right? Yeah. So it aggregates data. Well, this is the aggregation part, but it started off as a list view. It's still a list view. So let's say it's going to do this aggregation thing. So specify the fields you want on your layout. Okay, first name, last. It's the first and last names of the frog. I want the city, county, state, zip. Next. Okay. Grouping records lets you summarize your data by any field or region or month. Yeah. So the idea is that if you try to build a report, this gets back to this idea of the join tables, right? We talked about join tables with Calvin a day or two ago. If you have to say the word join table, you're already messing up. You need to go to the customer, the person who has the system, find out how their system works. There's no such thing as a join table. It's a business process that you haven't fully understood or documented or even intellectually understand. Okay. You could say you want to categorize or summarize this. It's fancy words. Someone says, I want to see all the frogs in Nevada or all the frogs in each state. Right. Well, then you're grouping the frogs by what? Their location, their state. That's all that conversation is. How do you group the data? Well, you want to summarize it. You want to group it. Yep. This is fancy words. When you ask your customer what do they want to see on the report? I want to see all the axe murderers in Los Angeles. Okay. Well, then you'd have to summarize by the city and by their job title as axe murderer. Right. Or how about defense attorneys in Baltimore? Okay. So you'd want to find the type. So it's either a found set or a sort. So what you could do is you can come over here and put the state in here. And so it's going to add this as a state. Now we're using the wizard here. This is the clippy paperclip thing. The little clippy comes up, starts talking to you, right? And so we say next, but you could do this manually. Okay. Now, if you want to sort the records, right? You probably need a sort. It's going to put the sort over it. It has to be here because you can't really group by state because really grouping by state is sorting by state. You need all the Nevadas together. Once FileMaker puts all the Nevadas together in a list, then it can total them. That makes sense? This is this idea of grouping the data together, and that's like these totals that you want. Now, if you wanted to know all the frogs in the entire system, in the entire found set, there's no sorting required because you don't care if Nevada's next to California or anything. But if you want these subgroupings, they call these sub-summaries. It's a major term we wanted to cover today, is the idea of a sub-summary. Okay, so I'm going to hit next. And it's going to say, would you like to sort by anything else? No, just sort it. Just do it. Shut up and do it. Okay, specify subtotals. Well, see, it builds this for you here, but it's better just to put it on the screen. This is this wizard trying to build it. So specify the summary field. We don't have a summary field. Yeah, it wants a total field. And so we have to say add. Okay. Then we have to add a summary field. So this is the kind of field. We haven't talked about a summary field too much. They are useful for reports. They are potentially deleterious effects. They're detrimental to the performance of a solution if you overuse them with large found sets. I'm going to say, I want a total of, and then I want a total of you want to count actually is what you want to count. So it's a summary field, not a total. Like a total might be like a total of all the invoices, $5 and $10 and $10,000, and you add them all up. A count is just the count of the records. So we're going to say the count of the records, any of the records, doesn't particularly matter, but we're going to go by state because we're interested in states. A count of the state. Summary field. Oh, wants a name here. Whenever I have a summary field, I always say it summary count. I always put the word summary in the front of it. Like I put global fields or a G underscore. I put the word summary. You could use something else if you want, but if you see summary, A, you know what kind of field it is, and B, you know it has performance implications. Defining the field in the database does not cause a performance problem. Putting that field on a layout can cause the problem. Okay, so defining summary fields, not a problem. Dropping them actually on a layout that the user sees or visits is where you take the performance hit. Very important. There's a subtlety there. So it's defined a field here for us. Okay, I say okay. Subtotals, add a subtotal. I can't remember the last time I've ever used this before. So it's going to do this. It asks me a grand total. I'm just going to say next. Then it wants to know about headers and footers and all this other stuff.
This is way more complicated.
Well, and then it says, do you want to create a script that'll do this for you? Lipstick on a frog. Yeah, create lipstick on a frog. Let's say for Ruben, Ruben. Okay, finish. So what it's done is it looks, so here we go. I'm going to pop a new window. So just to understand, we're back to this idea. This is the list view. Okay. This is a list view too. They're both list views, right? Okay. They are list views. They're absolutely list views. Okay. So, because if you go to layout mode over here, which I'm in, I hit this right here. You go to views. If there was a report view, it would say report. Oh, look. There's nothing called a report because it's marketing lipstick. Okay, it's not a real thing. It's all it is a list view with extra goodies on it. Okay, and so we have this summary by state. So there's the state. So what it did, it create this body part called a sub-summary. I was going to do that over here. We went to this auto clippy wizard thing over here, which built it for you, which is fine. But after we're gonna run this, we're gonna build it by hand over here, so you actually have the real skills. These skills are for if you're a marketing person and you're just visiting us today, or you're in sales and you don't want to do database stuff. You just want to kick out a quick report and never come back here again. Then yeah, use the clippy wizard thing. But if you're trying to learn this as a viable skill set, building a custom application with the FileMaker platform, we're going to do it by hand over here. So what I'm going to do is a sub-summary. I'm going to go to browse mode. In fact, I'm going to get rid of the top one. I'm just going to delete that so we're not confused. So we have the header, we got the body, we have the footer. It's not a footer, it's a sub-summary right here. I could add the footer. Actually, that's one of those things I complained about the other day. If I come over here and I go layout, I need part setup should be under the layout setup, because the layout, anyway, it should be, if you're here, it should be part setup right here. It should be one menu, but it's not. So part setup, we're going to say header, body, footage, sub-summary, create, footer, create. Then it puts it at the bottom. Sometimes you can move them around, the little arrows there. They're kind of negotiable a little bit, but the header and the footer are kind of locked. So now these layouts are very similar. The three parts there are pretty much identical to the three parts here. This one has that extra part, the sub-summary part, okay? Now, so I'm going to go to browse mode over here so we can see what it looks like. I'm going to go to browse mode over here to see what it looks like. Oh my God, shocking, they're identical. Now, they're slightly different because there's an extra field over here, but they're identical. So what caused a sub-summary to display? Well, it has to be sorted by that field it was targeting. When you set up a SubSummary part, if I double click it, it will only display SubSummary. It should say SubSummary part will only display and become visible when you sort by blah. Otherwise, it's invisible. So I go back to browse mode. If I come over here on this one and I say, you can, by the way, first, you normally hit the sort. I'm going to show this real quick. Sort, delete record, right there, sort records. And you could pick the fields and sort, okay? You can also right click on a field or control click on a field. Here's, I can click and I can say sort ascending or descending based on that field. So that's a really quick way of sorting on one field. I can say sort ascending. So this one sorted over here, all the Alaska together. Do we have any totaling over here? No. If I come over here and I do the same thing and I tell it to sort by ascending on state, that SubSummary should activate and display data. It may not display what we think it should, but it's going to do something. I click. Ooh, something didn't work. Oh, yeah, everything worked. Oh, it did work. Ooh. If you look right here, Alabama is a little easier. So these 4 belong to Alabama. There's 4 as a total. So what it does is it sorts them, same as it did over here. But every time it got to Alabama, it did 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it displayed the SubSummary. Well, it displayed at the bottom. Couldn't it display at the top? Yeah, you can do it either way. You can take the SubSummary, have it on top and the bottom, or just on top. And then we defined the field right here. This is the field that was defined by part of that little wizardy process. We go to fields. There it is. So you define the summary field, then you come over to like this layout over here and go to layout mode. And then you say layout part setup. Okay. I want to create a part because we know that we want a total, an inline total. They call it a summary or a subtotal. So the total, if you think about the whole list, it would be a grand summary or a totaling summary or the super galactic overlord summary at the bottom. Okay. The big one, the big kahuna. But then you have these little ones that are like the various states because we told to summarize by state. So create, I say sub-summarize by state. Okay. And you say, and it says you're putting in one, I keep saying body part, but it's a layout part. It's a sub-summary layout part. You want it above or below the body that it's going to be working against. Okay. Let's say we want, we want it below. Okay. Now we have the nearly identical setup as over here, except that we have to widen out the area and then we have to put in the, and so you're going to put in, now if you take this field here and I duplicate it, the duplicate right there, come down here, it's going to just remind us what that grouping is, if that makes sense. And then if you have the sub-summary, right? So say if I get rid of zip code, because we don't particularly care about zip code, and I say, let's put the, I'm going to option drag, so there it goes. And I'm going to put in the sub-summary. Let's put it right here. Well, what if we put it in the body? What will happen? Oh, I don't know. What will happen, browse button? All right, so sorted, we come down. There's Alaska, and then we come over here, and it's the count. Now, see, it's giving you the count of the entire found set, right? It's not being targeted against a certain group. If I move it down, so normally like something like that, you'd put down here in the footer, right? So you take this one, like that's really stupid, put it down here, browse mode. Now at the bottom, 500 for the whole thing. Yeah, that makes sense.
So
but
the summary will change if you put it in like the actual sub.
The summary field takes on different behaviors based upon where you drop it on the layout.
Huh. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I moved it and it already changed. Now what if I move it here? Then we just basically rebuilt what the paperclip thing you did for us. We come down here. Now it's going to give us that group because it knows it's attached to this. It's a sub-summary, and that sub-summary is rolling up by state. And this group of states is Alaska. This group is Alabama. This is Arizona. Okay. California. God help the California people. Fortunately, I'm one of them. 74. Okay. 9, 3, right? So you could take the same field, duplicate it, and move it down here. And then down here, you would say you could say, you know what you could do is you could say total for, and then we could use a merge field, insert merge field, and I could say state. Okay. And so then we have the state over there, but now it'll be more like a sentence that doesn't suck so much, right? So it'll be like over here. And then I put the count down here. So the count right there will be a subsummary. The count right here will be the total. Super duper total. Okay. Same field in different spots, different layout parts. Different layout parts. 1, 2, 3, browse. Okay. So we're scroll down. Oop, 15 there, 4 there, and at the bottom we have the 500. Okay.
Does it
Now that
refresh in real time if you add a new thing to it?
if you add a new record, yeah,
Yeah.
sure. If you add a record to it, it wouldn't be included in this. Well, okay, that's a bigger conversation and it's tricky, and it would be fun to dim. But I'm out in the weeds on that.
Okay, I wasn't sure if that was a weed question. Sorry.
It's a weed. If someone else is logged in, they add records to this. Here's the deal: if that record, if you're found, okay, so if you have a found set that's specific, right? Like you have a specific found set of like all the Alabamas or something, okay? Or half the records or something. Someone else adds a new record, they won't be injected into your found set. If you're saying show all records right here and someone adds a record, you're going to get that next record in your found set. Your screen will flash and refresh. Okay. Now, what you can do, this is the little bit of the weeds part. You can go to records. Remember we said sort. So when you sort, you obviously can put, I want to sort by the frog state. Okay, it's already there. And I want to sort by the city and down here at the bottom. Keep records in sorted order. Okay. So if I don't check this and I say sort, the sort performs once, it never runs again. So if you add a new record, you start adding new records over here. It was sorted, and now these new records are probably just been injected kind of wherever you were. The database reports it's semi-sorted. It was sorted before, but then you injected more frogs in here, and we didn't really give a resort it, so it's semi-sorted. So you have really 3 states. You have not sorted at all, unsorted, fully sorted, which is sorted, and then semi-sorted because you messed with it a little bit, right? Yeah. Now, what you do, so of course, that was how it was for years. Then someone said, what we're going to do is we're going to, with the engineering crews at Claris, they said, we're going to change this. So after you sort it, FileMaker will detect that some records have been added or changed, and it will automatically resort. And they forced this upon the developers, I think, for like one release. And the developers lost their minds because suddenly people would be adding records, and the system, as you added records, would automatically sort and process a certain process. And like, hell, I didn't want that. So now it's an option that you could turn on. Now, here's the deal. This is the weeds part. We talked about multi-user yesterday. We're back to multi-user right now. The other day, it was about 2 years ago, I was sitting there on my database, and I was kind of watching my Mac, and I'm just going to show the over here. I've got this activity monitor, right? And I'm watching the activity monitor, CPU usage. Here it is. It's kind of going along, and it's got some load here because I'm live streaming and video and stuff. And suddenly it starts going like half speed. It's an older computer. It's like half. It's like more 4 or 5 years ago, and it's like half processing power. And it's like really grinding. And I'm like, what the hell? And I look, am I running any scripts? No scripts are running. But then I look up here at the top, and the found count's going up. Ding, 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 ding. So I'm on a shared solution. Someone else is running a script that's auto creating records. And my system, because I'm showing all records, is getting those records dumped on it because I'm seeing all the records. And also, conveniently enough, I've turned on the keep sorted. So as someone else adds a record, it forces my FileMaker Pro to, hey, here's a new record. It goes, oh, wait, I got to resort this right now. And it takes time out and it starts grinding. But they had a robot that was going, or some sort of process that was running wild. New record, new record, new record. And my thing was spinning double overtime, like maximum emergency power to the engines to keep it sorted. And so it started sucking down my processing power because I was sorting the other dude's records. Make sense?
I think it makes sense. If someone else feels like that doesn't make sense, feel free to
There's
let
been
me
almost
know.
no questions here. I'm very terrified that I'm ending Friday on a weak note.
Well, there was a question earlier, but I kind of like let it because it's from Rick Fosna. How do I get my logo to appear on all printed forms? Is that a global field?
So this is a form, okay, or a layout, okay. I think you used the word form, but we'll just pretend it's layout. So let's, where would that graphic go that I had? That was the super duper. I need a frog graphic. You can, of course, put the frog over here. And then if you put the frog, make sure it's in the header and then the logo and you put it up there and then it's in that layout. Now, if you want to drop it in once and have it go everywhere, you have to create a container field that you're going to put at the top and have it populate into that container field. In fact, that has to do with a preferences, having a preferences table and a preferences record. We have the video in our paid live stream. If you watch, not paid live stream, the live streams are free. In our paid training, we've talked about this. We will probably talk about it coming up at some point. But if you want to know about it this weekend, because it's burning, you have burning desire to know the answer to this, it's called Understanding Preference Records. Look for preference records and training, preference user preferences. And it's about creating a preferences table with one single record that all the other tables cross-connect to. So you would, here's how we do it in Starting Point, right? So we have in Starting Point, here's a copy of Starting Point. This is the home screen. It's attached to the preferences table. The preferences table only has one record. We only allow one record into it, right? Then you come over here to preferences, and here's the logo. You could put the frog in here. Frogs Incorporated, right? Dead Froggy.
Look, there's your
there, put it there, put it there. Then those other layouts reference this container in this layout. So that's how you do that. That's how you do it once, and then it goes everywhere. Okay. So much for Friday. So hopefully people learn from this. I think it's actually a pretty good video.
No, absolutely. Thank you, everyone. It's good to see you all. We will see you Monday for, what are we doing Monday? Oh, naming conventions. Ah, yes.
Naming conventions. This is how to name the frog after it's dead. Yep. All right. Off you go.
Bye.
Got a report of an individual up here who may be a FileMaker license. Well, it's potentially expired. Look at the back of that car right there. Looks like the FileMaker license has expired. Sir, I need you to step out of the vehicle. Sir, step out of the vehicle. Sir!